Inside a quiet Texas church, a shadow roams the hall, dressed head to toe in tactical police gear, carrying a hammer, smashing windows, opening doors. Minutes later, 45-year-old mother of three, Missy Bevers, walked into the same church to set up her early morning fitness class. She would never walk out again. The intruder vanished, leaving behind nothing but questions, a trail of theories, and a murder caught on camera, but never solved. Welcome back to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. This is my true crime series, Far From Fiction. I'm Rob, and I'll be your host for this evening. Tonight we'll be diving into one of the most unsettling unsolved murders in recent history, the mystery of Missy Bevers. Before we begin, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button. I'm on the road to 2,500 subscribers, and I'm trying to get there by the end of the year. Every click helps the community grow. And if you enjoy creepy mysteries beyond the channel, check out my brand new book, The Hollow Season. It's a horror anthology packed with 6 original stories that will keep you up long after you finish the final page. It's available on Amazon now, and the link is in the description. Now, let's get into the mystery of Missy Bevers. This is Far From Fiction. Terry Leanne Bevers, known as Missy, was born on August 9, 1970, in Graham, Texas. From an early age, friends and families described her as outgoing, full of energy, and the kind of person who naturally drew people in. As she grew up, she developed a love for fitness and teaching others, a passion that would later become a huge part of her life. In the late 1990s, Missy met Brandon Bevers. The two quickly fell in love, and by 1998, they were married. Over the years, they welcomed 3 daughters, building what seemed to be a picture-perfect family in a small community of Red Oak just outside of Dallas. Missy threw herself into her role, not only as a wife and mother, but as a friend, neighbor, and instructor. She became well known in Midlothian for leading Camp Gladiator boot camps, motivating dozens of people to push past their limits. Her energy, kindness, and drive made her more than just a trainer. She was a role model. Those close to her said that she had an infectious smile, and she was the kind of person who made you feel like you belonged. On the night of April 17, 2016, Missy was preparing for another one of her early morning fitness classes. Bad weather was moving through the area, so she announced to her group that instead of meeting outside in the parking lot, they would be moving class inside the Creekside Church of Christ. For Missy, it was just another Sunday night routine, setting up for next week, making sure her class was ready to go for the next morning. She had no way of knowing that decision, moving indoors to avoid the storm, would place her directly in the path of a killer. April 18, 2016. The storm rolled through the town of Midlothian, Texas, just as the weather radar predicted. Inside Creekside Church of Christ, the building sat dark and empty, or so it seemed. At 4 a.m., security cameras inside the church captured something chilling. An unknown figure, dressed head to toe in tactical police gear, a black helmet, heavy vest embezzled with the words police, and, in their hand, a hammer or pry bar. The intruder moved through the church, opening doors, smashing windows, and wandering corridors as if searching for something or someone. For nearly 20 minutes, this mysterious figure prowled the church. His walk was very distinctive, though. He had a noticeable limp, and the right foot would turn outwards with every single step. At 4:18 a.m., Missy Bevers arrived. She pulled into the parking lot, carrying equipment to set up her 5 a.m. Camp Gladiator fitness boot camp. Unbeknownst to her, the intruder was still inside, possibly waiting for her. Moments later, Missy stepped into the darkened church, alone. The events that happened next have never been fully released to the public, but according to police, Missy was ambushed and brutally attacked. She suffered multiple puncture wounds to the head and chest, injuries consistent with the tool that the intruder was carrying. Just after 5 a.m., campers began to arrive for Missy's class. Instead of their smiling instructor, they discovered a horrifying scene. Missy was lying unresponsive on the floor. Emergency responders were called, but it was too late. Missy Bevers, a 45-year-old mother, wife, and beloved instructor, was pronounced dead inside the very church that she had inspired so many. And the person in police gear just vanished. With Missy Bevers' murder confirmed, Midlothian police began piecing together what evidence they had, and from the very beginning, the case was anything but ordinary. The most chilling clue came from inside the church itself. Security cameras had captured the intruder roaming the halls. They were dressed in tactical gear, helmet, heavy vest, shin guards, gloves, and even the word police printed boldly across their chest. And something stood out about the suspect as stated earlier, the way they walked. Investigators noticed a strange, almost limping stride, a right foot that turned outward with each step. It became one of the most distinctive details in the case. The figure moved casually, almost as if they had all the time in the world. They tested doors, broke small windows, and carried what believed to be a hammer or pry bar, but nothing was stolen. Police began to wonder, was this just a cover-up for something else? Outside the church, another clue surfaced. Around 2 a.m., nearly 2 hours before Missy arrived, a 2010 to 2012 silver Nissan Altima was seen circling around the nearby sporting goods store, just minutes from the church. The car's movement was very strange. It pulled into the parking lot, circling slowly, headlights flickering, before eventually driving off. Police never identified the driver, calling them a person of interest who might have a vital information in the case. Then came the autopsy report. Missy's cause of death was listed as multiple puncture wounds to the head and chest. The medical examiners noted that the injuries were consistent with the tools carried by the intruder in the surveillance footage: a hammer, a pry bar, perhaps even both. This wasn't a shooting, it was brutal, up close, and deliberate. With these clues, the bizarre surveillance video, the strange car, the autopsy reports, police believed they had the building blocks for the investigation, but what they didn't have was a suspect. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered something troubling. On the surface, Missy's life seemed full: a loving family, a thriving fitness program, and deep roots in her community. But beneath it all, there were problems. Financial issues, debt had been building, and the cracks were beginning to show. And in cases like this, detectives often look close to home first. This meant her husband, Brandon. In so many cases, the spouse is often the first one listed on the suspect list. But Brandon was quickly ruled out. At the time of the murder, he wasn't even in Texas. He was hundreds of miles away on a fishing trip in Mississippi, and his alibi checked out completely. But that didn't mean that someone close to Brandon couldn't have been involved. That suspicion turned towards Brandon's father, Randy Bevers. Only days after Missy's murder, Randy dropped off a set of clothes at the dry cleaner, and when employees inspected the garments, they found what looked like blood. Instantly, whispers began. Could this be the evidence that police were looking for? The answer was no. The blood was tested, and it wasn't Missy's. In fact, it wasn't even human. Randy Bevers had told police that the stains were from animals, and the labs proved him right. He was clear of suspicion, plus he also had an alibi, which had him across the country in California at the time of the murder. So if it wasn't Brandon, and it wasn't Randy, who could it have been? Investigators started looking for everyone in Missy's circle. Was it a jealous rival in the fitness industry, someone she might have crossed paths with online, or was it a total stranger, a predator lurking in the shadows who saw an opportunity that morning? When investigators couldn't pin the murder on Brandon or Randy, they started to consider other motives. One of the most compelling theories came from Missy's own digital footprint. In the weeks leading up to her death, Missy received an unusual message on LinkedIn. According to those close to her, the message was described as creepy and strange. The police have never released its exact contents. Was it a bizarre coincidence, or could it have been a threat for someone who was watching her? Some theories suggest that this may have been the killer's way of testing the water before striking. Another theory points to a possible love triangle. Friends admitted that Missy's marriage wasn't perfect and there were financial struggles on top of relationship issues. Reports suggest that Missy may have been involved in at least one extramarital relationship. If true, was her murder a crime of passion? Could a jealous partner, or even a jealous spouse of someone Missy was involved with, have snapped? The murder weapon also adds fuel to speculation. The autopsy confirmed that Missy died from multiple puncture wounds consistent with a hammer or a similar tool. And remember that CCTV footage showed that the suspect carried what appeared to be a hammer. But here's where it gets chilling. The killer was moving methodically, even checking doors and smashing glass. Some theories suggest that this wasn't a random burglary gone wrong. but instead an elaborate staging designed to look like a break-in. Others believe the attack was planned to the minute. The suspect arrived just before Missy's scheduled fitness boot camp, ensuring she would walk in alone. The level of precision raises one haunting question, though. Did the killer know her schedule? As a fitness instructor who regularly posted her classes online, Missy's whereabouts weren't exactly a secret. But if it was random, how did the killer know exactly when she would arrive? Finally, there's the possibility of a personal vendetta. Missy was well liked, but as with any public figure in a small community, there could have been a silent resentment. Was this someone she knew from the church, a former client, someone holding a grudge we may never learn about? What makes this case so haunting is that every theory seems plausible, yet none lead to a definitive answer. Each clue, the LinkedIn message, the supposed love triangle, the staged burglary, seems to point in one direction, only to fizzle into another dead end. Now, before I share my thoughts on this case, I want to make it absolutely clear, this is only my opinion. I was not a part of the investigation, I don't have inside information, and cannot prove what I'm about to say. I'd love to hear what you think on my opinion as well as your own down in the comment section below, because cases like this spark a lot for discussion. For me, I do believe this was a targeted killing. Some people have suggested that it might be a burglary gone wrong, but I just don't see that from the surveillance footage. The person on that video wasn't fumbling around, they weren't panicking, they didn't even steal anything. They had a purpose. They were there to eliminate someone. Now, it is possible that it could have been someone else in the church that the killer was after, maybe a pastor, an elder, someone else entirely, but I don't think so. Because if that were the case, and this intruder showed up in full police gear, why wouldn't they have just left when Missy arrived? You know, I mean, as far as Missy could tell, we imagine she thought this was a police officer. And so why would he go the extent in killing her? Unless if maybe she did question it because of certain pieces missing, a badge, or another weapon other than a hammer that a police would actually be carrying. But to me, it suggests that they were there for Missy and Missy alone. They knew that she would arrive sometime early that morning, and they were waiting. They even went out of their way to ensure that no others were present during that time. That's why they were checking the doors and all the rooms. And for who that person is, I can't say. I don't have a name, but there is one detail that's always bothered me about this case. The police gear. What if it wasn't fake? What if it was real? I mean, if we think about it, the authorities have shared pieces of evidence, but have also held back a lot of stuff. There were rumors of an affair, but no names were ever released. Missy received that strange message on LinkedIn, but we never got to see it, and we don't know who sent it. And police have also gone out of their way to say that people shouldn't release theories because it could hurt someone innocent. But here's where my mind goes. What if one of the people working on this case know more than anyone else because they were the one involved? What if the investigators have been sitting across the table from the killer the entire time, but can't or won't turn the spotlight on one of their own? It wouldn't be the first time in history that we see something like this happen. Again, I want to stress this is only a theory. I have no proof in what I'm saying, but I can't shake the thought that maybe this mystery was solved the moment the crime happened, but no one is willing to speak up. As of today, the case of Missy Bevers remains unsolved. Nearly a decade has passed since the tragic April morning. The investigators are still searching for answers. The official investigation is ongoing, and authorities continue to urge anyone with information to come forward. A $150,000 reward is being offered for anyone with information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for Missy's death. If you or someone you know has any information, no matter how small it may seem, you are encouraged to contact law enforcement. This case is more than just a mystery. It's the story of a woman whose life was stolen far too soon. Missy Bevers was a devoted mother, wife, and friend. She inspired her community with her energy, kindness, and strength. Her family has endured nearly a decade of heartbreak, waiting for justice, and yet they continue to honor her memory with love and resilience. At the end of the day, beyond the theories, beyond the unanswered questions, we cannot forget who the story is truly about. Missy Bevers was more than just a victim. She was a daughter, a wife, a mother of 3, and a friend to so many. My heart goes out to Missy's family and all those who loved her. May they one day find the answers and the closure they so desperately need. And may Missy Bevers, forever remembered, rest in peace. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Far From Fiction. I would love to hear your theories down in the comments below. I make true crime videos each and every Wednesday, and I release some sort of content every single day here on my channel and on my TikTok page, including my newest story, Shattered Sky, that released last Friday. It's a sci-fi horror story that is full of terror and conspiracy, and I would love it if you checked it out. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm working hard to reach 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year, but definitely need your help to get there. And lastly, my new book, The Hollow Season, is out now on Amazon. It's a horror anthology that includes 6 original terrifying stories, perfect as we head into the fall months. The paperback and e-reader versions are available in the link below. It's also available for free with a Kindle Unlimited subscription. But that is going to do it for today. As always, remember to stay safe, stay vigilant, because the horrors that we see in these videos are truly far from fiction. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of your evening here with me.